This lesson is for you if you own an electric guitar and are perhaps wondering what all the different knobs and switches do on it. Also, perhaps you'd like to just learn a little bit more about how exactly an electric guitar works. Now, in a minute or two we'll be talking about different types of electric guitar, but first off let's just start with things that all electric guitars have in common. The difference between an acoustic guitar and an electric guitar is the use of pickups. This guitar's got 3 pickups, and a guitar pickup is just a magnet with wire coiled round it. We're used to seeing them from the top view like this, but if you look at the diagram, you'll see at the lower part of the diagram you'll see the side view, and you can see how the wire is coiled round the magnet. So let's just briefly go over exactly how a pickup works. When I strike a string, it vibrates, and this vibration causes a disturbance in the pickup's magnetic field, which triggers a tiny alternating current in the wire coil around the magnet. This current alternates its polarity from plus to minus at the same frequency that the string is vibrating. This is how it carries information to the amplifier that defines the exact pitch and tone produced by that vibrating string. This information travels down the wire from the pickup as a tiny electronic signal. This signal then passes from the pickups through the controls of the guitar, the knobs of which can be used to further control the strength of the signal, which is what the volume knob does, or the shape of the signal in effect, which is what the tone knobs do. Okay, so when I play a little chord on here and turn the volume up, you can hear how that increases and decreases. And also, with it on full volume, you can hear how the tone is affected from a sort of bassy tone to a more trebly tone as I turn that tone control. Quite a brittle sound there with it on full. So once the signals pass from pickups through these controls, it's routed to the output jack, where hopefully we've got a lead plugged in that goes off to the amplifier. If you're playing your guitar, if you've got everything turned up and you're playing it and no sound at all is coming out, then check to see if you've got a lead plugged in. Now, the word amplify means simply to make larger or more powerful. And you can see from the diagram that the tiny signal from the guitar goes through 3 distinct changes as it passes through the circuitry in the amplifier. First, it gets greatly magnified by the input stage. This is often controllable by a knob on the amp labelled either volume, gain or pre-gain. Secondly, according to how you change the tone and controls on the amp, the shape of the signal changes. The signal is then often reduced by the output volume or master control. Then finally, the signal is converted by the power stage into an alternating electrical current strong enough to actually power the speakers. So you can see here, we've got our lead coming from the guitar. Our electronic signal is passed down through here and is moving this way, roughly speaking, through the amplifier. So here we've got the volume, which is like a little gate really that allows so much of that signal through in the first place, and boosts it. This is the control of the actual booster of the input signal. And that then passes through bass, middle and treble, what we call EQ, with which we can alter the signal accordingly. We can make it more trebly or more bassy, give it a bit more warmth and more middle tones, or make the signal what we call a bit drier, the sound a bit drier by taking the middle out. These are all subtle changes we can make on the amp itself. And then on this particular channel we can ignore the next batch of controls because they apply to other channels which we haven't got switched in at the moment. And then hidden from view on this particular amplifier are the output stages where the signal gets further amplified before it gets connected down to the speakers, which are in the box below the amp here. Think of the speaker as a sort of air pump that works in both directions, first pushing the air, then pulling it, effectively creating waves that pulse at the same frequency as your vibrating guitar string. These waves of air then enter your ear and trigger the same frequency of vibration in your eardrum. Nerves carry this vibration to your brain, where some really clever biological software interprets this information as the note A. Now, your guitar may look something like this one, with 3 single coil pickups and a 5-position selector switch, or it may be a humbucker guitar. They look like this. These are humbuckers, much bigger looking pickups. Now if you were to take a humbucker pickup and take the lid off it, you would see that underneath are 2 single coil pickups, just like on the other guitar we were looking at just now. These pickups look identical to each other at first glance, but they're actually wired opposite to each other. And this has 2 useful effects. One is it reduces the hum from the electrical interference that single coil pickup suffers from. And that's why they're called humbuckers, they buck the hum. Secondly, they put out a more powerful signal which is ideal for the strong sustained sound used, for example, by heavy metal guitars. They also have a sort of richer sound when you're using them at lower volume, and that's why they're fitted to guitars like this one, semi-acoustic guitars that are perhaps more designed ideally for jazz or blues sound. That sort of sound. Now it's highly likely that the guitar you own is either like the first guitar we showed you, 3 single coil pickup guitar, or like this one, a twin humbucker guitar. Those are the commonest types of guitars, but having said that, there are plenty of guitars around these days that mix both types of arrangement together, so it could be that you've got a hybrid guitar, part humbucker, part single coil. You may also have various other things built into your guitar, like active circuitry that boosts the signal before it even leaves the guitar. You might have coil taps and things like that, phase shifters, all sorts of things you can get these days. But whatever kind of guitar you've got, I'm going to show you a little trick now that sort of helps you get to know your guitar better. And all you need for this is a guitar, an amp, and a blunt object like a blunt metallic object like a screwdriver. Then plug your guitar into the amp and then turn the amp on. Next, make sure that the volume and gain controls on the amp are turned to low, and then turn all the controls on the guitar up to maximum. Now strike the strings and carefully adjust the volume on the amp to get a comfortable sound level out of it, something like this. Wouldn't need to be any louder than that. Next, locate your pickup selector switch, which will probably look either like this, which is usually a 5-position switch used on guitars with 3 single coil pickups, or like this, a 3-position switch used on guitars with 2 humbucker sets. Now, whichever type of switch you have on your guitar, switch the switch all the way in the direction of the head of the guitar. So here's my pickup selector switch. I'm going to switch it all the way in that direction. Then take hold of your screwdriver and touch the pickups one after another. If you get a loud sound from the amp like this, then you know that the pickup is selected with the switch in that position. So when I touch this one, no response at all. When I touch this one, you can hear. I'm actually touching the little screws in the pickup there, by the way, to be certain. And you can hear that that pickup is connected. Now, normally with the switch pointed that way, that will be the pickup selected, but sometimes these things get reversed. Then switch to the next position and test each pickup again. We can hear that one's still switched in, and so is that one now. So in that position, both these pickups are selected, and that would normally be the case, that there'd be 2 pickups selected in that position. In the next position, we'll be back to 1 pickup, in this case just the bridge one here. You hear that one's dead. In the case of the guitar with 3 pickups, then that position would usually pick the first 2 pickups, and then the 4th position would pick the second 2 pickups, and the 5th position would pick the 3rd pickup on its own. But just use that test to discover how your pickup selector switch works. Just briefly, on this guitar with the 3 single coil pickups and the 5-position switch, switch all the way up there, and just this pickup is active, these ones aren't. First position down, these 2 come in, that one isn't. In the middle position, we've just got the middle pickup. In that 4th position, we got these 2, and in the 5th position, just this one. Don't worry if your guitar is different. Sometimes a guitar like this only has 3 positions and 2 pickups. So there are various different ways guitars are laid out. But this test is a great way to discover how your particular pickup selector works. Now, once you've established how your pickup selector works, it's quite easy to work out what the rest of your controls do. So, for example, on this guitar, with the selector switch on the neck pickup, I can check how the volume control works. Pretty straightforward. If a little dusty. So surprise, surprise, the volume control makes things louder. And then with the volume up, I can also check how the tone controls affect this particular pickup. So here, for example, I've got this tone all the way off, and then as I turn the tone on, okay, we can hear quite clearly that that tone control affects that pickup. If I switch to the middle pickup and do the same test, we can hear it makes no difference at all. So that tone control doesn't affect that pickup, only that one. If I test this tone control, we can begin to hear that one does affect that pickup. If I now come on to this pickup selection, we can hear that the tone controls have no effect on it at all. I think it's assumed that if you're on this very trebly pickup, you don't particularly want to take the treble off with tone controls. So those two controls each affect those two pickups. So now we've worked out how to configure the pickups and how the tone controls work, the final thing to figure out really is what sort of sound we get from different combinations of pickups. So with the volume control and the tone switched all the way up on the guitar, and the amp set up with all the tone controls on the neutral setting, which is usually 5 out of 10. So with the pickup selector on our neck pickup, we can just play a little bit. Then I change to the middle pickup on its own. That's the middle position on the pickup selector. And to the end pickup on its own, all the way down on the pickup selector. And you can hear, it's quite simple. This pickup more bassy, this one pretty much neutral, and this one very tinny. Then we can put it in the interim settings with both pickups selected here. We get a kind of a fatter sound from these two pickups working together, and the same from these two working together, as opposed to one on its own. Characteristic sort of strat sound. Now on this type of guitar, when you've got the two pickups paired together, they're actually wired out of phase with each other as well. So you get a similar effect to the sort of humbucker effect that you get on humbucker guitars. Now, as we've mentioned, different guitars do have many different features these days, but I would say that once you've worked out the pickup selector switch and how the different tone controls fit in, the rest is pretty easy to work out from there. So hopefully we've been over everything in this lesson that you really need to know to get to grips with your own guitar. If, however, there's anything specific about your guitar that you're not happy with or don't understand or have any questions about, please contact us. Use the Ask a Question tab link in the panel just above and to the right of this screen. Okay, now our next lesson is going to be called How to Play the Amplifier. And in that we'll be going over how to get really nice distortion sounds out of your amp and how to set the tone controls up for different styles of music. So I'll look forward to seeing you then.